You're listening to Up the Turnpike with hosts Mitch Anderson and Matt O'Leary.
Hello and welcome into the Up the Turnpike YouTube channel. What is going on? Matt O'Leary alongside Mitch Anderson. Mitch, how's it going this morning?
I've had a sick kid. She's doing fine today, but the sick kid for the last couple of days, a lot of vomiting. But that is now over. So I will vomit over something else like this Brock Nelson 3-year extension, which I will. Anyways, I'll get into why the vomiting and why that's maybe a little bit too dramatic. But how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I was taken back by the report. So let's pull up what we're referencing. Islanders play later today, by the way. So we'll have a post game later on. This video will probably come out at some point during the afternoon. But earlier today, we had Stefan Rosner tweet out a story saying, according to a source from RG Media, Isles are shopping Noah Dobson and have offered Brock Nelson a 3-year contract extension. So where do you want to start with this one? You want to start Brock or you want to start Noah Dobson here?
Yeah, maybe Brock, because I made a dramatic statement there to begin with. Yeah, go.
I was going to say, I am nervous about giving Brock Nelson an extension. Now, theoretically, 3 years is not nearly as bad as giving someone like a 7 or 8 year contract, although Brock Nelson will be 34 at the start of next year. So you are signing someone who, granted, is important to the Islanders. You know, he's their second line center. We're not going to deny that. But you'd be signing Brock Nelson for his age 34, 35, and 36 season.
Yeah. My issue is not Brock Nelson per se. They want to re-sign Brock Nelson. I get it. It makes sense. You got a guy who's scoring 20 some odd goals this year. It could even hit 30 if he, heats up. And it's hit 30 in the last couple of years. I get it. Good two-way center. That's fine. It's the loss of potential assets that really bugs me. That's it. It's you got a guy who's going to be worth gold at the trade deadline, and you're going to lose him. You're not even going to lose him. You're going to try to keep him. It's those assets that are being lost that makes me want to blah. Oh God. What about you?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. And the big reasoning behind it is because we've both discussed at length how we think the Islanders need to shake things up. And there's a group of guys that you build around, and then you have an opportunity to move off of some veteran players to get a new influx of talent in here. Neither of us are saying, trade away Brock Nelson, tank for 5 years, and try to rebuild it back up. That's not the conversation that we're having. What we're saying is you like, Horvat, Barzal, Sorokin, and whoever else who you want to include in your core group of guys who's going to be here for the next few years, and then make some necessary changes. And for Brock, he would be the number one forward available at the trade deadline this year. And it doesn't seem that Lou Lamoriello is looking to go that route and instead would like to sign him for his age 34, 35, and 36 season.
Yeah, that's just too, it's risky. And again, I don't want to make this sound like I don't like Brock Nelson. I don't want to make it sound that way, or Brock Nelson's a bad player, because that's not it at all. It's not even close to that. Brock Nelson is a good player. Brock Nelson is a player that I like. It's the potential for those assets being lost that bugs me. Now, if I'm going to try to play the positive game, as I always try to do when it comes to something happening that I'm not necessarily a fan of, is maybe this means that Jean-Gabriel Pageau is likely going to be traded, and that Lou thinks he's going to get a decent return for Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Obviously not the return he would get for Brock Nelson, unless there's Peter Chiarelli became a GM all over again, which last I checked, he did not. Maybe he thinks he can get a decent enough return where he can do both. I'm going to lose my third line center. That's fine. I'll be okay. I'll have a new third line center in Brock Nelson next year at a reasonable rate, right? Assuming he re-signs him for like, I don't know, even just on the same money, because the cap's going up like $1 bajillion. That's the only positive I can see where I'd be like, all right, I could be okay with this.
Yeah, and again, I like that you pointed out too that you don't want to make this about not liking Brock Nelson,
Yeah.
because that's not the case. Like I think both of us do like Brock Nelson. It's about the risk that you play signing a guy to play, for multiple years through his mid 30s, who already is on pace for a year that is not up to par with his last couple of years. He's pacing out for 51 points. The last 2 years prior was at 69, 75. And even if you want to go back one more year, 59 points. So he'd, be having a little bit of a dip in production into his mid 30s. And again, like talking about the kind of return that you could get for him, maybe Pajot is the one that would be the guy being moved. I feel like last offseason there was rumblings about JG Pajot and the Islanders potentially moving on. They don't. That lessens the blow a little bit, but you're not nearly going to get the same kind of return for Pajot that you would Brock Nelson. That's the thing.
I agree. Again, unless Peter Chiarelli was handed the reins, or there's another Peter Chiarelli level GM out there that I'm not aware of, where we can send Griffin Reinhardt for a first and a second, top half first too.
Yeah, that'd be really nice. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening as well. So we'll see what happens there. But again, we've been talking a lot on Brock Nelson and why we both agree that it's time to likely move on. And we've been weary of Lou Lamoriello doing that or not. And it feels like right now he is team extend. We did have the video that came out on the channel earlier today talking about that. So it's kind of fitting, right, that we go from discussing those quotes into now like, hey, there's rumors that there's a 3-year contract on the table. What about Noah Dobson? Let's get into him in the second half of this video here.
That's not necessarily surprising, right? I don't think that Noah Dobson being on the trade block is necessarily surprising. Just because he is one of the more valuable players that we have on the team. We're performing well without him here. He has his deficiencies, but if the Islanders are looking to take a step up, they are or find improvements, they're not going to do so outside of trading Noah Dobson or Matthew Barzal. That's just not going to happen.
No.
And
so according to this report, the asking price for Noah Dobson is a scoring forward. And the team, I'm not making the connection, the team that is referenced in the article is the Vancouver Canucks, which is obviously, I feel like I've gotten some things because I've mentioned that team a lot in Noah Dobson trade talks, but that is the team that is referenced here. And the thought is that even though they traded JT Miller, that Elias Pettersson is still on the trade block, but not expected for something to happen in season. Instead, at the NHL draft, at the time, Noah Dobson would be an RFA too at that point.
Yeah. So that doesn't complicate things because we have $28.5 million worth of cap space going into the next season. And in the offseason, you can go over the cap by 10%. So I'm not too worried about the monies being worked out there between that. Yeah, I would be okay with that, with Elias Pettersson for Noah Dobson, because you're trading like for like, and I assume need for need. I assume the Vancouver Canucks need a right-handed puck moving, maybe not even puck moving, but productive defenseman, and we need a elite offensive forward. That's a hockey trade if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, you would think so, right? And Pettersson is younger, not younger than Noah Dobson, but a younger forward, right? At 26 years old, he'll be 27 at the start of next year. Another name referenced in the article, not through a source that Stefan says, like this is kind of just him speculating, but Jordan Kyrou, who is around the same age, he'll turn 27 in over the summer or late spring, in May, has 23 goals and has had
over 30.
Yeah, I was gonna say over 30. He had 31 last year and 37 the year prior, and he did have that thing. What was that, last year or the year before with the coaching change? He had that quote that he got a little shit for in St. Louis.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of stuff. And St. Louis is doing some sort of restructuring there as well. So I don't mind that. It's not the same caliber of player, and I'm sure Stefan would say the same thing. Um, not the same caliber of player as Elias
No.
Pettersson. So you probably get more back than trading for Elias Pettersson, which might have its advantages. But it's players like that that are the Islanders, should be in on when it comes to redeveloping their offense, their attack. For me, then the big concern is not necessarily only who we're getting, because I trust Lou Lamoriello when it comes to a trade. I don't think he's lost too many trades that he's made.
No.
Maybe you can say he hasn't brought in the player you like, but the players he brought and what he paid for was fair. For me, the issue now becomes, all right, well, where are we going to get 50 points from the back end?
That's a great question. Unless I think Perunovic could do that.
They must feel that Perunovic and probably even Tony DeAngelo can fill that void.
Maybe.
Which I know I'm not a fan of Tony DeAngelo's. Tony DeAngelo, I should add possessive there. I'm not a fan, but it's working out. As many of my detractors would easily point out, it's so far working out in a very small sample, but it is working out. There's no
in the 6 games. Yeah, in the 6 games, he has 4 points. He has a couple years ago. I mean, in his first year in Carolina, had 51 points in 64 games. Granted, that's 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
But as you're saying, 6 games, he's been productive.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happening off the ice. Good.
You can't crap on it, right? Like, while he and I may not align in certain things, I'm sure he's not the only one on the Islanders or in NHL who have that opposition to me, or vice versa. So, like, whatever, we're winning. He's playing well. Maybe it's a good fit going forward. Maybe it'll work. And again, it's kind of like trying to make it positive out of something that may not be positive in my eyes.
Yeah, and again, that's an interesting theory, right? Like, are they comfortable with running the right-handers that they would have currently in-house if they did a move like this? And maybe that's the case, or maybe they're taking assets from, we mentioned a potential Pajot trade. Maybe they're on the market looking for a different top pair guy instead with what you get from Pajot.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about Kyle Palmieri, which isn't referenced in this piece there, but like that's probably another player that might go. So now you've got extra pieces with Pajot, Palmieri. Maybe you package something together for someone else. Who knows, right? But that's the only. I feel like when it comes to Dobson, whatever trade's going to happen, it's not going to be a package of futures. It's going to be a hockey trade. We're trading a young right shot 50-point defenseman. We're looking for a point per game winger for our lineup that's around the same age. And then it's going to be, how do we backfill that position going forward?
Exactly. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these dominoes end up falling, but just wanted to come on quickly here and discuss the latest on that front. So anything else before we get out of here on either Noah Dobson or Brock Nelson?
Just let it be 3 years. I'm fine. Whatever 3-year, don't let it be more than that just because he wants to keep the AAV down. Oh my God, please no.
Yeah. So we will see if the contract gets signed. There was rumors that he wants to test free agency, but there's always something going on in Islanders land. So that'll do it. We'll have a post game later tonight. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video before you get out of here, and we'll catch you next time.